So if you're like me, you have a small shop and you have to be very selective of the equipment that you put in that shop. A joiner is no exception. A joiner is kind of a luxury tool to have in a shop. It's very good to have if you have the space for it, but if you don't have the space for it, there are other ways to get around having a joiner without having an actual joiner. Today, we're going to build a jointer jig that you can use on your table saw, and you will turn your table saw into a joiner. And we're going to do it with this plywood. So whether it's that the wood, you caught the wood sleeping around inside your shop, and now some wood got impregnated with the other wood, and they really want to make it a biblical type marriage and, you know, join together in holy matrimony, or whether it's just that you need to glue up some wood to other wood. And we'll show you how to do it without a joiner. And so you're going to start, everything's so small, 3/4 inch sheet of plywood. We want to rip it down on the table saw. I got it! I got it! Made it! Alright. The only material you need for this jig is 1 3/4 sheet of plywood, and you only need 2 3-inch strips along the length of the plywood. So 2 8-foot by 3-inch strips is what we're going to cut down. And this is the best way I've found to rip down plywood. These Husky work tables. So I'm going to set my fence to 3 inches. At 2 3-inch strips of plywood. I need to adjust some stuff. Jeez. Oh, man. These Husky work tables really come in handy with the casters. I really need to build something to where these tables can freely move around. Okay. Dang, come in. Look. So the next thing we're going to do is cut both of these strips down to 5 foot. Now they don't have to be exactly 5 foot, but both strips do need to be exactly the same length. If you'll notice, I clamped my wood down right here. I'm going to make this cut, and then the rest of it we're going to cut down even farther. Okay, so with our 2 main strips cut, the remaining of this, we're going to cut these down to 8 7/8 inches. All of those are going to be ripped down to, or cut down, not ripped down, cut down to 8 7/8 of an inch. And what this is going to be is our spacers between the 2 runners. So, mind your ears. So the next thing you're going to want to do is take one of these pieces, and I'm just going to come in about 3 inches. I'm going to cut it at a 45-degree angle on the miter saw, and you're going to see why. So only one of these pieces, cut it, give yourself at least 2 inches, but you can cut it wherever. You can do it in half if you want. One of these pieces that's cut at a 45 will be an actual French cleat that goes on the wall. The other piece will be on the joiner so that you can hang the joiner rig on the wall. For the next step, we're going to cut out the joiner bed. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to take one of these runners. We want to make a mark at 24 inches. That's just where I want my outfeed bed to stop at. Take my square. And mark it. It doesn't have to be exact. That's just where I want it to be. So I'm going to cut the long side, the 3 foot, I'm going to cut out 1/8 of an inch along the width. I'm going to rip out 1/8 of an inch and I'm going to stop at this mark. From this mark out, this 24 inches will be my outfeed. This 3 foot will be my infeed, and that's going to give me all of this infeed on this side of the table saw to help me stabilize my piece. The way that I'm going to do that is take my fence and I'm going to come in the width of the table saw blade, and that's how much I want to take out. That's going to be roughly 1/8 of an inch. Not roughly. It's going to be 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, a little bit more. And so this will be your most critical cut. I'm going with 1/8 of an inch. That's just what I figured. So, cover your ears. I'm going to move you back a little bit. I forgot to mention, you want to raise your table saw blade all the way up. The reason I'm cutting 3-inch runners is because that's the height of my table saw blade. I left a little bit extra. That's basically the height of my table saw blade. You want to raise your table saw blade all the way up, and then you want to make this rip. Alright, so to give you an idea of what you're looking for, the side that we ripped down, that's going to face towards the infeed. Where we made that stop cut, that's going to hit the back of your kerf blade, of your, whatever that thing is called. And that's it. Now you could just go with something like this. I want to make a more rigid frame. That's why we cut out the other pieces. Because I get some humidity in my shop, I don't want this to bow, because that's going to give me problems. I want to make a more rigid type of construction. So that's where these other pieces are going to come in handy. Now, this is my top side, and I should probably write that top. I will put in all of my top spacers. And I'm only going to put in 2 of my bottom spacers. Now, the piece that I ripped at an angle, that's going to be one of my bottom spacers. The piece that comes closest to this side of my table saw right here, I'm not going to put that piece in yet. I'm going to lay it out on the table saw when I have all the other spacers in, because that's what I'm going to use to clamp this down. I'll show you what I'm talking about. First things first, we're going to lay out all of our top spacers and get them screwed in and go from there. Okay, so now that I have the 2 end pieces set and flush with the ends, we're going to pre-drill and countersink all of our screw holes. And I'm just using what screws I have handy. These are some backer board screws. They'll work perfect for what we're doing. You don't have to get no fancy screws or nothing like that. Just get whatever works. So if you're new to woodworking, or if you're a beginner, a countersink lets these screws lay inside the surface of the wood, so you have nothing sticking out on top of the wood surface, and it helps you to not crack the wood whenever you really bring that tension down. This is just one crude example of a countersink bit. You can get them at Home Depot or wherever. I want to get some nice countersink bits, but I haven't found a pair. I haven't really looked for any nice ones, but I have what I have, and it works. Okay, so I have all of the top spacers in. One thing I forgot to mention, you want to be mindful of screw placement. So I was going to evenly space these, but I don't want any screw heads near my table saw blade. So I made sure to put one behind where the table saw blade would be and put one in front, well in front, where no screw heads would hit the table saw blade. So to do the bottom, we're going to take my 2 end caps, one of them with the angle and one regular, and we're going to set these in place like this. So I want to take this angled piece. You want the top of the angle facing the outside of the jig. You want the angle to be facing this way. So, can you see the angle? We'll take it just like this and set it in here. And that's how I'm going to attach that piece. That way, this piece will be on the wall with the angle sticking out. Just like it's called a French cleat. It'll slide and pop right into place on that angle and it'll hold tight. Alright, this is the bottom side, top side. The next thing I want to do is set this in place where it's going to be and pull my fence over to it. Now the fence will keep it in place, but I also want to be able to clamp it down from the bottom. So I'm going to take this piece, slide it in, but I want to put it flush with the back side of my fence so that I can take a clamp like so, come in here and clamp this down just like this. That way the fence is holding it and the clamp is holding it. This is going nowhere. That's one less safety hazard that I have to worry about. So with that in place, I'm going to take and mark this end where I need the end of that spacer to be. Freaking chickens, man. I'll tell you what, I am getting sick. Oh, I'm getting sick of these chickens. Alright, so before we sand it and wax it, we're going to test it. I have this piece here. We're going to joint this rough cut surface. The only thing you want to be mindful of is when you set it up, this outfeed bed should not stick past on this side of the curved knife. You really want to make sure that you have clearance so that when you pass it through here, it doesn't butt up against this. It shouldn't be a problem on yours. My fence tends to kick over, and that's exactly what it did when I set it in place. So I had to make some adjustments on my side. I have it clamped right here, and I have it clamped to my fence. This is going nowhere. So no more talking, let's test it. Alright, so it worked great. That's a good solution for a joiner. Oh, I need to show you how we put it up. Can you see the little knob over there? So that French cleat is on the wall. When you put the French cleat on the wall, you want to make sure your angle is facing up and away from the wall so that this angle, see how I have the angle in here on this one? Can you see that? Yay, nay? You'll figure it out. So, the French cleat works. I'm going to go hang it up. I'm going to sand it and wax it off camera. That's just how I'm going to finish it. I am not going to sand anything on this side because I don't want to affect the calibration. But that is it. Let's go hang it up. Can you see how I have it? That's slick. So we have this entire sheet of plywood left. I am going to do a crosscut sled. I do want some ideas. I do need some ideas on what else to do with that plywood. I still have basically a whole sheet. We only took out 6 inches of the length. So if you have a crosscut sled that you use in your shop, comment below. Or not a crosscut sled. If you have a jig. If you have a jig that you use in your shop, comment what it is below. And I want to figure out a design if I like the idea. I need some ideas. All I know is a crosscut sled. I don't know what else I want to do with the rest of the plywood. I think one jig I might make is a chicken guillotine because I am getting sick. Look at all these stupid chickens out there. 17 chickens. Who needs 17 chickens? And they don't shut up. They freaking crow all day long. So we might make a chicken guillotine in the next video and we'll test it. We'll test it on camera. I should probably stop talking. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helps. I hope, maybe it's a good solution for some of you out there. I know some of you have larger shops. And congratulations, I'm glad you do. But this is a good solution for those that don't. Thank you for watching and have a great day. I will catch you on the next one.